This is Coogan Cassius for iFood TV in association with Macklin's Gym Marbella. We're in Liverpool here for the final press conference for All or Nothing with me. This was the same chair I interviewed Tony Bellew in.
Was it?
Who just actually bit my nose in a face-off. What do you mean
You're
good?
very leery.
What do you mean leery?
I've noticed that lately. Must be the loss of weight. Very leery.
I carry power as well.
Yeah. Joe Gallagher told me that you carry power. Because I was on the pads with Joe Gallagher in, wherever we were, Oakland. And he said, Coogan can punch a bit with the right hand.
Did he actually say that?
No, he did.
Ask Tony Sims.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, ask Tony Sims. Anyway, final press conference. Do you know what? When I was looking up there, I was just looking at Vera and Rebrass on one side, I was looking at Callum and Rocky on the other side, I was just thinking to myself, why on earth isn't this fight happening? I know they're in great fights, don't get me wrong, but why is it them two happening?
I just think that when you're going to gamble your career, do you gamble it for a British title? You know, I also feel like that fight's not as big as it could be. And I feel like these kind of fights, as long as don't get me wrong, if I would have put Callum and Rocky in poor fights, I think we've had to sort of question ourselves, but we're not. We're putting them in fights that are going to advance their careers. Therefore, if they fight each other, it's going to be bigger. But I just feel like, you know, in the division right now where you've got James DeGale, world champion, you've got hopefully George Groves becomes world champion, you've got Martin Murray stepping up. Do you want to gamble two young fighters against each other for the British title? I know like some fans might be watching this saying, yeah, but we've also all got a job to do, you know, for the development of the fighters. No problem with them fighting. If I can get them a final eliminator against each other for George Groves Bellew Jack winner, 100%. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I know it's difficult as fans because you just don't care. You just want those fights to happen. Of course, you pay your money, you know. But you just got to understand that to go in two undefeated young fighters against each other, when one is about to go number one in the world if he beats Rebrass, and the other one is about to be top 5 or 6 in most governing bodies. I just feel like there has to be a bigger carrot.
Similar to the Cole Campbell situation with that being an eliminator?
I mean, the same, good point. You know, I mean, I just felt like an intercontinental title between those two. It's a great fight and it's great for the fans, but is it great for the fighters? Well, the answer is if you want to gamble, here's a carrot that will ultimately give you a shot at the world title.
Tony Bellew, opponent obviously has changed in the last few days. He's a bit big.
Yeah, Tony's got the ump because he was fighting a guy called Lubos Suda who, you know, he's very experienced, who has a go but ultimately gets knocked out in 5 or 6 rounds, and he pulled out and we had a problem with his medical on Tuesday, and we brought in Ivica Bekurin, who, you know, has boxed a lot of heavyweight. Went the distance with Pianetta, who's fighting for the heavyweight world title in a couple of weeks. Went the distance with Juan Carlos Gomez, who's a big lump as well. Boxed Jonathan Banks. He's a lot bigger than Suda, and he's a lot more durable and a lot more game. So it's actually a much tougher fight. But again, with a couple of days to go, tough. You know, that's what you're in with. And you know, Tony was laughing about that. But you know, he's got to get through on Friday. He's got to look good because we want the Hernandez Ramirez winner.
Can you get that over here?
Yeah. So Hernandez has just travelled to Argentina to fight a challenger. So we can 100% get the fight here. Hopefully Hernandez wins.
And we're talking about this year?
Yeah. October.
Difficult to do that outdoors though, obviously.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't do it outdoors.
What about his dream of fulfilling...
He can defend it, Goodison. He won't be challenging for it, Goodison, in October.
Does he know that?
Yeah.
Martin Murray against Barashvili. I'm not going to lie, I don't know too much about him.
No, you don't. I mean, he's same sort of thing as Suda. Wins, and then you stick him in with a quality fighter, gets beat. And obviously coming off the Golovkin fight, we signed Murray, 3 weeks ago, something like that. So it was just a chance for him to go in, do some rounds. Hasn't boxed in the UK for over 18 months. You know, so he really wants to go in, make a statement, and then move on to a big fight in September, October. I think Martin's one of those guys, you know, since I've signed Martin Murray, I've had so many calls from around the world about, you interested in this fight, what about this fight? And Martin can go from middle, super middle, you know, So there's so many options for him, and he's just going to walk into a big fight. It's just a case of when. Do we want to build him so that he's big enough to get that fight over here, or if it's a domestic fight, let's make sure that's a huge fight when it happens.
Still a possibility of him and De Gale?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I think De Gale Murray's a good fight. De Gale could be, if Groves beats Bellew, Jack could be Groves Murray. I mean, he's a big name. We're going to make him an even bigger name, and they're big fights.
As your plans for the rest of the year changing literally by the minute, has there been any more development on September the 12th?
Yes, in the last 24 hours, but not really much that I can tell you. I think that if Brook fights Rios, I think that's probably the date it'll happen. Just working on Joshua in a big fight. We've got Stephen Smith as well in a final eliminator for the world title, looking for a home for that. I'd like to bring a Murray or an Alike in a big fight on that bill as well. And it's a building process. It's quite difficult. The Royal Britannia card that worked really well took a lot of work, and it was difficult to put together. And this will be the same. I think this will have a stronger main event, especially if it's Brook Rios. But September the 12th will be the same night as Mayweather. Maybe we get that call.
Are you talking about Sky getting it or Brook getting it?
No, Brook getting the call. Well, I don't think he will, but he's definitely in the hat.
No one seems to know what's going on.
No, I mean, obviously, I still think... I know originally, Amir was saying that because of Ramadan, September wouldn't really suit, but I think that's okay for him. I still think he's got a sniff.
Ramadan's now, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think what the original argument was, excuse my ignorance, but I don't know how long it goes on for, but he'd have a short camp, and obviously he'd be coming off the back of that, which isn't ideal. So normally he likes to box later on in the year. So I think that, I think he's got a chance, but I just think that Floyd's going to handpick this one after Pacquiao, He's not the kind of fighter that goes like big fight, tough fight, big fight, tough. Do you know what I'm saying? So, and that's why I'm not sure with the Mayfield stuff is a bit weird, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was Berto. Who else can it can be? I always thought it might be Danny Garcia, but obviously now he's fighting Paulie. Sean Porter.
With the Kell Brook thing, obviously after his fight with Pacquiao, he said he was going to relinquish the belts, etc., etc. Hasn't done so as yet, and then there was a thing with the WBO where he wanted to regarding it.
This is how it works. You don't just relinquish belts for the pleasure of others. You relinquish belts strategically for others that you're associated with, or you're in your camps. Okay? Not right necessarily. Life. So when Bradley and Vargas gets made for a vacant title, and they're both Bob Arum fighters, Floyd Mayweather's thinking, so I'm going to vacate this title and give it to a top-ranked fighter. No, I'm not. So that's when he talks about, what's his interview yesterday, he said, listen, if a deal can be done regarding the belts, that means how much you want to pay me to vacate. Or, better still, if he can slip someone else in, Errol Spence or one of these guys, he'd rather do that. If not, he might just defend it on September the 12th.
If Mayweather...
Don't forget these governing bodies are on 3% of your purse.
If Mayweather has no intention of completely unifying every division, what's the sense in him fighting Brook?
Not at the moment, because Kell's not a big enough name. You've hit the nail on the head. The selling point for that fight, if I was the promoter of that fight and I'm looking around going, blimey, who can we fight? You make an excuse to fight people. So Amir Khan, although he's been calling me out, he's former world champion, blah, blah, blah. Sean Porter, he's beaten Broner. Broner's my boy, I'm going to get revenge. Kell Brook, he's a world champion. He's beat Sean Porter, who beat Adrian Broner. And if I beat him, I get every belt. I mean, on that basis, just listening to myself, the choice is Kell Brook.
Yeah.
You know, but he's a tough
But if he's
fighter.
got no interest in keeping belts, which we don't
But
know.
he still beat Sean Porter, who just beat Adrian Broner, so he's got the credibility.
Yeah.
And he's got the belt, but he hasn't got the name. He hasn't got the name in America yet that's going to drive millions of buys. But who has that's in the pot? Khan would probably be the biggest in terms of what's the numbers and what's available. Who's available? Sorry.
Khan.
Possibly the biggest for numbers, but probably the most expensive and the most difficult to deal with. You know, so others, Berto, I don't know. Presumably, you can get him at a great price, and you know.
Would you agree that Khan's probably the biggest name he can fight at 147?
No, but I think he's of who's available to fight in September. I think he's probably the biggest name.
So who's bigger than at 147 that he hasn't already beat in the hat?
No, but I still think the Pacquiao rematch is bigger than the Khan fight. But I just think it is.
Yeah, but that is, but that's not.
The Bradley fight, the Cotto fight, the Alvarez fight. You know, at 147. I don't know. Khan Mayweather. I've never dispelled the fight that it's a big fight, but I just don't think Amir's going to want to fight Amir. Sorry, I don't think Floyd's going to want to fight an Amir Khan or a Kell Brook. I think there's easier fights out there for him.
We should wait. It's got to be announced soon, though, surely, isn't it? We're like less than 3 months away from 12th, so.
Yeah. Hopefully this week.
Speak to your mate Al. Get Al on the
We
block.
want to know just for our planning, because obviously if he's going to fight Khan, it affects what we're doing on September the 12th as well.
Of course it does. All right, Eddie, I'm staying in Liverpool. You're going home.
I am, but we'll see you Friday. Keep saying Saturday. It's Friday night, live on Sky Sports.
So I'll see you at the weigh-in tomorrow.
Will do.
Thank you very much.